I'm Justin Quant. We're part of a multi-generation family farm in Oaks, North Dakota. Right now it's my dad and his 4 brothers, and me and my 2 brothers, and I got a cousin that's going to be growing with us also. Our family farm is kind of out of the norm with how many people we have part of it. The older generation is kind of on their way down, so they've slowly been giving the reins over to us. Right now, I mostly do the agronomic decisions on the farm, the seed, fertilizer stuff. My middle brother, that's 2 years younger than me, does most of the spraying and chemical stuff, and my youngest brother does the book work, and then he's also the main hog operator on our operation. Our farm is kind of in a transition right now where the older generation is starting to retire. My youngest uncle is actually closer in age to me than my dad, so he's joining me and my brothers, and we created a farm partnership between all of us. He handles the cattle end of it and feed and all the haying operations and that kind of stuff. And then my cousin's in college and he's coming back and he's gonna just fit in everywhere. We're kind of gonna need a new shop foreman, and I think we can get him in and do the mechanical work. We have enough guys around. My one uncle's a machinist, my one uncle's a full-blown mechanic. You know, I got an uncle that's a geological surveyor. They all went and got training for jobs before they came back to the farm, so they all kind of fit in. We service all our own equipment. We do have some hired on help that helps us too. So I have a wife, Abby, and a son, Rowan, that's 7. He likes to run the combine, not that he can do it fully yet. And a son, Canute, that's 11 months old right now. And I think the 11th month old likes tractors more than the 7-year-old though so far. My wife's a merchandiser at the local elevator, so very ag invested family. 10 years down the road, I still want to keep it the family farm. We have a good family core, and there's a lot set up that we'll try to keep it as a family. North Dakota's here, right as far north as you can get in the U.S., right close to Canada. We're a very sparsely populated state with only about less than 800,000 people. It's all old prairie land that was mostly grassland, no trees or anything from back in the day. Got 44 million acres, almost all of them, 39 million, are used to farm and ranch. There's 26,000, over 26,000 separate farming operations in the state, and we're the number 1 producer of 10 different crops, mostly all small grains. Average farm size is relatively large at 1,300 acres. And ND's top 3 crops are wheat, soybeans, and corn. The climate is very different from summer to winter. You go down to an average temp of 10 degrees Fahrenheit and all the way up to 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer. And spring and fall are just as different from each other also. Precipitation can vary greatly, but it's right around 20 inches annually for rain and 40 inches for snow. Our growing season is rather short, starting in May and ending towards the end of September. Because of our large farm size, we use technology very intensely to manage everything that is going on in the operation between all the different areas. There's a lot of common equipment that pretty much everybody uses for corn production. Tillage equipment to prepare the seed bed for the planter to come through. Here would be a typical planter. Then we use sprayers to control all types of pests, whether it be fungicides or insecticides or herbicides to combat the ailments that our crop could see. Harvest happens late in the fall, and we're trying to beat Mother Nature to the punch before the snow flies. We have large combines and grain carts to improve efficiencies so when you are in the field, you're getting as much done as possible. And this happens. The snow flies, winter sets in, and we don't want to do a dang thing outside. So during that time, we're evaluating what we did this year and trying to figure out what we can do better next year, which varieties to plant, which fertilizer gave us the biggest bang for the buck, and how we can produce a great crop come next spring when we can get back out in the field. To get out of this area, it takes quite a bit of heavy transportation to get it from the field to the rail facilities, and then from there it hops on a rail car and heads west. As you can see here, there's a pretty extensive lineup of smaller rails that crisscross our state, all join into two Class 1 rails that head to the West Coast. We store a lot of our grain for long periods of time just for better marketability. We got 1.3 billion bushels of storage in North Dakota. About a third of that is off farm, whereas 2/3 of it is on farm, so the farmer is taking care of the grain. For us as farmers in North Dakota, reliability is the name of the game. We try to produce a great crop year in, year out, and through our years of experience and just the fact that we've had to deal with Mother Nature so much more than maybe other people, we figure out how to produce a crop year in and year out. This year especially, we had very high test weight, low moisture coming off the field. Our grades are going to be grade 2 or better on pretty much every single load that leaves any farm in this state. A good chunk of our corn goes to the West Coast, the PNW, and then there's a good chunk that's also used here in state for ethanol, as well as livestock feed. We have corn and soybean rotation, and this year we actually planted all of our acres. A lot different than last year. We were really dry, so we got everything planted compared to last year was only about half planted. Our corn season went into the ground great, and we got good emergence and everything, and then the faucet turned off and it got really dry. We were getting real short rains or very light rains, just enough to keep us going, and you didn't have to go too far north where they weren't catching them, and there was a lot of drought affected acres. Our crop actually was the second best ever on our farm, but we have about 60% irrigated, so that helps to mitigate losses. And a hot, dry year like this year really helps the irrigated acres to really produce their full potential. With the hot and dry year, we got the corn off, started taking the corn off really early, first part of September, which is almost a good 2-3 weeks ahead of schedule for us. We're always one of the first ones in the field anyways, but even for us, that was really early. We actually have 2 tanker loads of propane still sitting in the supplier because we didn't have to use it because the corn dried so quickly down in the field. Our crop was great test weight and everything. We have a lot of samples over 59-pound corn, which is not too common up here in this far north, but we've had a great growing season overall. The corn on our farm that we produce goes mostly to 2 elevators in town. They're both 110 shuttle loaders. I'd say 90% of their business goes to the PNW on a year-to-year basis. This year, some of the early corn went up to Canada with the feed shortages, and then the rest, I think, is going to the PNW to hit all the Asia markets. Our North Dakota corn has great qualities that we don't have to deal with because of our northern climate. We have less issues with molds and toxins that you could get further south, and with this season's extended warmth, we didn't have to dry it, so we have a lot of less FM than normal. The test weight was there plus some, way higher than we were expected to. I'm fortunate in the fact that my wife is a merchant for large corporation that owns the elevators and owns the export facility. So through her connections, I've seen how quickly the corn can leave my farm and be out to the PNW and on a ship headed towards Asia, and how fast that process can be and how streamlined it is. I want to thank U.S. Grains Council for setting up these informative sessions and to include North Dakota corn as a great reliable source of feed and feedstocks. If you're ever in the area, look me up. I'll gladly show you our farm, and if you have any specific questions for me or the North Dakota Corn Council in general, feel free to reach out to us.